Good afternoon, everyone. Today's topic is the failure of the Secretary of Defense to communicate with the White House. Well, what do I mean? At the beginning of January, the Secretary of Defense went in the hospital for prostate cancer surgery. He never informed the White House until after the surgery, when he was in ICU some 4 days later. I believe it was like 3 or 4 days later. And the importance of this is that while he did transfer command to his Assistant Secretary of Defense, she was on vacation, and he never called her and told her what was going on. He just sent her an email while she was on vacation. And she opened the email 3 or 4 days later after the surgery had taken place. So for 3 to 4 days, the country was without their Secretary of Defense. Had China or Russia or any of our adversaries attacked during that time, the White House would have not been able to get in touch with the Secretary of Defense. Like I said, the Secretary of Defense never contacted the White House. He never told them that this was going to be done. They were not prepared for it. They found out when reporters questioned them about it some 3 or 4 days after the surgery when he was in ICU. That's how they found out. He should have been fired. But he did not get fired. He got a, quote, reprimand and was told not to do that again. But that is just such a failure in the communications up the chain of command. You know, if a lowly grunt in the Army did something like that, not only would he be reprimanded, he would be kicked out of the Army. But the Secretary of Defense had zero he was not reprimanded in any way. He was told, don't do this again, but that's not a reprimand. Because if your Army private had done that, he would be reprimanded and kicked out of the Army. That's consequences. And Secretary Austin suffered no consequences. So when President Trump said the other night that this guy never fires anyone, Trump was right. Because that was a flagrant violation of the chain of command, and he was not fired. You know, Biden said, well, that's a lie. But then he couldn't follow up and say who had been reprimanded for what reason. And so, you know, I think about our enemies, and if China or Russia had attacked us during that time, say China sent a nuclear-tipped missile towards us, and the Secretary of Defense is the only one who can receive the options from the nuclear football, and he's in the hospital in ICU and has not told the president. That is awful. That is beyond awful. That he did not receive no consequences for that. Was just like a slap on the hand and said, don't do that again. It's like so ridiculous. And, you know, the chain of command in the military works, you know, like when you're a private, you go to your sergeant. Your sergeant goes above him, and then it works its way up to the top to Secretary Austin. If there's some important matter in the chain of command on its way up to Austin, and Austin isn't there for, I think they said he was in the hospital for 10 days, 6 or 7 of it in ICU. That's a huge failure. At least I think it is. And, you know, it just shows you under Joe Biden his lack of leadership. You know, under any other president, Austin would have been immediately fired and would have been replaced. But he was not fired. He was not replaced. Also, you know, you have, this is in the same category because it involves the Secretary of Defense. But the commanders on the ground in Afghanistan were saying, do not exit the country like this. Secretary of Defense Austin, from what I'm told, did not convey that to the president. He might have, if someone knows a source where he did convey it and the president still said no, I would like to know. That's all I have for you guys today. It's a short video. You know, I'm not feeling well today, but I still wanted to put out some content. So I will talk to you guys later.